on, give me 10 seconds to think of a fucking joke because I fucked it up last week.
Okay, we are live, so swear a little bit more.
Fuck, shit ass cunt bitch. The vaginal discharge.
You want to get this channel banned?
Sorry, but it is your fault. You are the chief broadcaster, and as such, your guests are your responsibility. You failed to control an unruly interviewee, and as such, it is you on whom it will be incumbent to pay severe fines.
Okay, then now you all know. I shall pay the fines. Or something. Patricia had a good joke. I'll just put it up on the screen. Was thinking about bad jokes, so I tried to come up with a carpentry joke that would work. I thought I nailed it, but I don't think anybody saw. I'm glad she's here. Okay, are you ready for mine?
Ready?
Why does the Norwegian Navy put barcodes on their ships?
Why?
So they can Scandinavian.
Very good. Yes, yes.
That's so awful.
That's excellent.
Your turn.
I used to be a hypochondriac, but now I've got cancer.
Good. Excellent. We got that done then. Okay, so where were we? Miss Pagan
Wow,
is
were
here.
we?
Let's have a good time. Yes. I'm trying to find the
Where were
homework.
we?
Yes, you were going to have urges of all sorts of kinds, weren't you?
I always do. I'm a
Do you
man
allow
of
them?
urges. I'm a walking urge. Fucking 20-year addict. Dedicated my entire life to compulsive urges. That is my legacy.
Yes, but have you been allowing them? Is the important question.
Oh, I allow them. I allow them. Oh yeah.
Oh, yeah.
The one thing I've been working on the most in the last week is the pornography. So I had my final self-abuse last week, and then I decided to delete all of the porn on my telephone, and yeah, that's been good for me to practice the homework, because I've done it before, and the first couple of weeks are the hardest. Sorry.
Another bad joke.
Way, lads. So yeah, there has been a lot of letting the urge. Obviously, the sensation in my body is different. It's not solar plexus, throat, and head. It's obviously groin, and a little bit of the brain as well. So it's been quite enjoyable to have a bit of variety in the suffering department, in the craving department. But I'm already seeing the benefits of not watching porn. Yeah, I'm already, seeing a reduction in depression, anxiety, social awkwardness, and an improvement in sexual function and sexual avarice between my partner and me. So yeah, that's addiction number 2 dealt with now. One more. I've just got to get one more. Just got to get rid of the gambling. Just got to get rid of the gambling. I have been gambling a bit too much over the last week, and yeah.
Did you try to allow those urges?
Uh, no, I was certainly um, I was certainly not. I was encouraging the behavior and um, very much in a unhealthy state of being. Just encouraging it, normalizing it, um, pursuing it. Um, Probably there's some displacement going on there. Um, Whenever I give up food for the first 2 weeks, I tend to go more to pornography. Now I've given up pornography and I've been thinking about gambling a lot. So there's definitely a displacement going on. Um, I just wasn't um, awake while it was happening. Um, I wasn't paying attention. I was just,
Sleep
yeah,
gambling. Excellent.
right. Yeah. Well,
So when are we dealing with that?
everyone's dream, isn't it, to make money in their sleep?
Yeah. So when are you planning on dealing with that then?
To be fair, yesterday was the last day I gambled, and I told myself as I left the amusement arcade, I can't think of what they're called. It's the place where you fucking lose your money. Um, as I walked back to my car after a pretty big loss, because the day before I had a really big win, and then I had a really big loss yesterday that kind of wiped out everything I'd made. And I remembered what my Italian friend Francesco said to me. He said, he said, the problem is not when you lose, but when you win. Because a win sets up the next loss, which tends to be bigger. So yeah, I kind of had this whirlwind 48 hours during which I won a lot of money and then took all of my winnings and tried to make it bigger and then lost it all and sort of went up and then down. And as I got back into my car, that awful feeling came back of the negotiation of wanting to have one final attempt at gambling to try and make some of that money back that was lost before saying a final farewell. But that never works. The dopamine that you get from a win sets up the next gamble. The best time to quit gambling is after a loss. It always is. And I went to work today. I paid myself, and I walked back to my car, and I walked past a betting shop, and I thought about going in and taking the money I'd earned that day and trying to turn it into more. And it was just like a scene from a film, because left in my car was not gambling, right in my car was gambling. And just at the last second before I was about to turn right, I just said to myself, going in there and winning, even winning all the money back I'd lost, isn't a win. That the win is just deciding not to gamble again. So then I went home instead, kept my money, and just accepted that one more gamble is actually more of a loss than just the sum of money I lost. So yeah.
How do you feel about that decision?
Good.
Good.
Because it means I'm starting to think more long term about what's valuable in life and less about the short term. And I'm starting to think about the value of healthy behavior and healthy psychology and habits, rather than just the short term buzz and sense of self worth knowing that you can just put £100 into a machine and walk away with 5. It's just, yeah. And it's very, very dangerous as well. So it's a very new addiction. It hasn't cost me a lot of money, just a little bit, nothing I can't lose. But there are far more, well, pretty much every other way to spend one's disposable income is more noble. It's a very ignoble way to squander one's disposable income. So yeah, it's just time. It's time to stop.
Okay, but you have one more.
No, that is it. That's the one more. Look at, oh, what, approval seeking?
Yeah.
Yeah.
What comes up for you now? I saw your brain just like.
Well, I was thinking, I was trying to remember if I was approval seeking in the last week. I don't know. I guess over to you. You can bring the truth out of me through your ruthless.
Well, I don't know what you have been up to, but I know that that is a behavior that comes back over and over again, and it might not be like you're seeking it out the same way as you would seek out food or porn or gambling, like, but whenever you have interactions with people, it's probably when it's going to turn up, I suspect.
Yeah, I do care too much about what people think of me. It's a habit that goes back to primary school.
So I'm wondering, other than feeling good in the moment when someone approves of you in some way, what is it that drives that?
Just a feeling of need and emptiness. Like the moment where I look at someone and I feel the insecure desire to say something to influence the way they perceive me for the better, so that they think more of me. There's definitely something going on to do with trying to prove to them that I'm worth something, that I'm, I think it's just simply that I consider myself worthless, and I project that onto other people. It's a form of social anxiety, very common disorder, so I read. So yeah, there's an assumption that everyone that's looking at me feels the same way about me as I do. So I've got to sort of look like they're all sort of pushing my head underwater, and I've got to sort of struggle to get back up to the surface. So it's not that I desire to be viewed as great, so I can be perceived as better than everyone else. It's just that I put myself down, and I'm looking for their approval so that I can feel that I'm on their level. And that began in primary school. That's my earliest memory of it. Pretty simple, basic stuff, really, like the outsider who wants to,
Yeah, so I'm wondering if the next time you are in that situation, because one of the things that you mentioned first was that you feel the need to say something. Like that is the same thing as an urge. You have an urge to say something to get their approval.
Yeah.
Would you be able to just allow that urge to be there and not say something? And just be willing to be awkward or whatever?
Yeah. Yeah. Yes, I've seen myself do it plenty of times. Um, Occasionally, a voice intervenes on my behalf, which says, "Oh, just leave it, will you? Just fucking just sit and listen. Don't attention seek. Don't try to be part of that conversation. Don't make it about you. Um, don't say
But
something."
that's a lot about your inner voice telling you you shouldn't be doing this. But I want you to
Mm,
just feel the uncomfortableness because it's the negative emotion there that urges you to actually do it. So if you can just
sure.
feel it and not pay so much attention to those thoughts. Oh, you really shouldn't be doing this. Again, just like your focus is only on one thing, and that one thing is that okay, now this comes up, and my focus is on just feeling this emotion. I'm not saying you should kind of block the people out, but you can still listen to what they're saying. But at the same time, that's all you need to do. All these voices that you should be talking or you shouldn't be talking or whatever, ignore them for now.
I agree. It's like you said last week. I focus on everything I shouldn't be doing and shouldn't be
Mm.
everything I don't want.
Yeah, and the problem with that is that you can change things, you can change your behavior, but you're not changing your thoughts behind it. So you're gonna always gonna come back to that behavior. Whenever you're not paying attention, you're gonna go back to those thoughts because they're still there. And I think we talked about it before. Like if you are willing to feel any negative emotion, you can literally do anything that you want. Because any behavior that you do that you don't want to do is because you want to escape some sort of negative emotion. It's like an itch. You just need to get away from it.
Mm-hmm.
Hmm.
Yes.
So I'm going to keep banging on about this, but it's the same thing in pretty much every situation. And our brain is always going to be like, well, this is new, this is different. It's not the same thing, but ultimately it is the same thing. So you're going to have a lot of patience with your toddler brain because it's not, I mean, it is a toddler brain. It doesn't have, it can't really conceive of these concepts. That's not what it's there for. So you're just going to have the patience to teach it in every situation what's actually going on and how you want it to behave.
Yes.
So just because you know it with cravings doesn't mean that you are able to apply it everywhere until you actually taught it.
I have been thinking recently about this, and I've come to the conclusion that my problem is compounded by my sensitivity. My sensitivity is a source of strength. It's it's uh, it's what allows me to feel and think with a certain intensity, and express myself with a certain intensity as well. Uh, but it also makes me very vulnerable to feeling things in a uh, to an overwhelming intensity as well. So
Okay,
um,
stop
oh,
overwhelming. What's overwhelming?
my my feelings, well,
Yes.
certain uncomfortable feelings.
So,
So I remember, like this problem definitely goes back to childhood. Embarrassment and shame are
okay, we
kind of
don't need to go there. You know that overwhelm is a feeling.
well, no,
And you know what to do with
I
them.
think I mean no, I think I meant that that overwhelming is a degree. It's an excessive degree of feeling. It means that I guess I'm trying to say that I feel certain negative emotions more intensely than the average person, so I have a harder
How do you
job
know
of.
that?
Well, I guess I'm just taking the leap in logic that um, the more intensely overwhelming negative emotional responses are, the harder it is to endure them and to let them pass. And that the broad behavior that comes as a consequence of that is addiction or compulsive um, behaviors. Um,
But no matter the strength of the emotion, you know how to allow it to be there, right?
well, yes, I do, but knowing something is not the key in most cases to knowing something doesn't translate to as soon as I understand something intellectually, I make the fatal assumption that uh, that the actions leading to a solution are immediately expedited, but then they're not. There's a there's another there's another resource. There's another quality which one has to have or harness in order um, to have the courage to actually put oneself through uncomfortable processes. And
And you're doing it every day already.
yeah, but like um, I guess I'm talking about the mystery of why some people sink and some people swim. And I worry sometimes. I worry that I'm not going to make it, and every addict worries that. I worry that I'm not going to recover, and I'm just going to be like a Amy Winehouse and just sink until one day drinking a can of Coca-Cola, and then that's the one that causes me to
Okay.
keel over and
So
die.
now you've told me lots of fears and doubts and stuff. And we were talking about the concept of equal airtime. Now, I want you to tell me a few things about why you can do it.
Well, I can recover from addiction because I have a very rational mind, which has led me, which has served me greatly in finding you and Bart and arriving at a conclusion of and arriving at answers to explain why I have been an addict and why um, sugar, especially, is addictive. Um, so if you look at the numbers of people who uh, know
Give
about
me
the carnivore
reasons.
diet,
Reasons for
I'm
why.
giving you one. I'm giving you one.
That's one. Yes, you have a rational brain. Next.
What's the Swedish word for brusque?
I'm gonna keep you on track today.
I was on track. I was just going a long way on the track.
Yes, we like short tracks.
Then listen to the Beach Boys. Okay. Reason number two. I'm relatively young, so I have plenty of time to recover. Not in the sense that plenty of time to continue procrastinating, but plenty of time. Sorry, no. Let me rephrase. I have plenty of life left, which acts as a tremendous motivation to recover um, because there's a lot worth saving. It might be difficult at 70 or 75 to be motivated to save oneself if one only has another 5 to 10 years left. So um, I'm still relatively young and I've got a lot of life left to save. All right,
Okay.
that's two.
Yeah, give
All
me
right.
two more.
All right. Two more. All right. Um, why can I do it? Because because I'm very fortunate to have friends and family who love me and support me. And I know for a lot of addicts, sometimes who don't make it, that can be the missing link. Um, I do concede though that there are those who sink, who have all of the love and support in the world. They have everyone
No,
else's
no,
love,
no,
but they
no, no. Now you're going to the doubtful place again. Let's
no.
stay with I
I was
have
just
love and
trying to like.
support.
All right, fine. Um, yes, I've got plenty of friends and family it who would support me if I were to announce to all of them that I'm never going to eat that I'm only going to eat meat for the rest of my life. There isn't anyone in my friendship group or family who would try to enable eating carbs or derail me or undermine me in any way. They would all accept it, and that is a rare privilege. That's quite a rarity. So I'm very fortunate, very privileged to have that. So that's three.
Yep.
Number four. Um, why can I do this? Because to not do this would mean that I would have to stay in hell for the rest of my life, and I don't want to live in hell anymore. Um,
That's not a reason for why you can do it.
I can do it because because I've seen evidence of it. I've seen evidence of change. The one thing in which I didn't believe for many years. So I can do it because it involves change, and I've changed in other ways. And if I can change in other ways, then I can change in this way too. That's four.
Excellent. That's four. You can breathe now. So notice how much thinking you had to spend to find four reasons for why you can do this. But your brain is just offering up a whole list of things for why you will fail or won't be able to do this long term or whatever. And that's not the ultimate truth. It's just what you're thinking and what you've been focusing on and what you've been thinking for so many years over and over again. So it's just like with the cravings, it's just that you practice those thoughts so many times. So whenever you're thinking about that thing, those thoughts are going to come up straight away. It's like an automatic response, but there are automatic thoughts that just comes up. But you haven't been practicing thinking that I can do this because reasons. So that's new. You had to actually invest energy and using your prefrontal cortex to get that energy and to figure those reasons out. And then it was just like thinking, thinking, thinking. And even when you were thinking, you wanted to go to, well, I do have the support, and your brain is just like, yes, but there's evidence for you still being able to fail because even though you have support, because other people do sometimes. Straight away, your brain just wants to go there. And it's important that you're catching that behavior, because your brain is going to keep doing that. And I can tell you that you are intelligent, you are capable of learning how to do this, and you have shown me that you can do it. I mean, I have evidence for why you can do it, but me telling you is not necessarily going to stick. You're going to have to start changing your thinking on purpose, to not just think about the past and what's happened in the past and all the reasons for why you're going to fail. And that's going to come up. But then think about all the reasons that you are going to succeed.
Well,
do both.
I'd like to make a slight adjustment to what you just said. I don't think it's fair to say that the main reason I go into the past is to look for reasons for why I'm going to fail. I don't think that's fair. It's just that whereas I think that there is some value in going into the past to try and understand why I have been the way I have been up until this point, you don't see value in that. So you stop me from indulging those streams of consciousness, because not necessarily because they're encouraging me to think defeatistly, but because it's just consuming valuable time that would be best spent focusing on the present. I don't think about the past to try and look for an indefinite excuse. I've conceded for many weeks now that change is possible, but I still am curious and interested in where all of this began. And the old me would just think about everything bad that happened in the past, just to dwell on it, just to sort of to feed on the negativity. But in my discussions with you, on many occasions, I've had micro revelations while talking to you, where suddenly I'll think, oh, this behavior or this pattern of thinking, this behavioral pattern began at such and such stage in my life. And I assure you, it's not there to substantiate the idea that I'm destined to fail. So I don't entirely agree with you.
That's fine. You don't have to agree with me. I'm not saying that it's not. I mean, it might be useful for you to understand where it's coming from. But what tends to happen is that you want to repeat the same story over and over again, which just reinforces that sort of thinking. And when you think back to when you were bullied or whatever actually happened in your childhood, and you can see that, okay, from that point on, maybe something happened, maybe I changed, then I started doing this or whatever it was. Knowing that might be useful for you. I'm not saying that it won't. But keep going back to the same scenario and trying to poke more and more at the same thing just keeps your mind on those things and those behaviors. And you might have been doing them then because you wanted to protect yourself. But now is a different situation. So using the same protective behavior that you were doing as a child doesn't really serve you right now.
Look, I get it. There is an overarching description or definition for the problem, and I don't need to bring up countless examples. I get it. I had a really happy childhood, and I developed coping mechanisms in the absence of everything that I needed, which I didn't get. And throw in some genetics and predisposition to sugar addiction, and hey presto, you've got a 2-decade addict.
Yeah.
That's it. I know it's not more mysterious than that.
Yeah, I mean, I like to understand how things work, and if you want to kind of go there, I would recommend that you actually go and see a therapist for a while and just kind of
No,
uncover
therapists
all
are
of that.
expensive. I don't have to pay money to talk to you about my problems. I only have to sell my dignity and be on YouTube
Hmm.
and
But
just have your bovine subscribership criticize me in the comments section. Heathens!
but what I'm saying is that if
Mere
you really want to
mortals.
go there, I would recommend that you do that if you think that that would be useful.
No. I have smart, emotionally intelligent friends who are good listeners. They do exactly what therapists do for fucking £60 an hour for nothing more than a cappuccino and a couple of hours of my time. I really don't need a therapist.
Okay. Well, I'm
I
not going
need
to
a
force you to do
doctor.
it.
No, I might need, I don't know. I might need a therapy or a counselor. It would be nice to see a clinical psychologist. I wish that Jordan Peterson would stumble across this video and reach out to me and put aside his objective of building a media empire with the Daily Wire just to save me, but he won't. So the next best thing is this blue-haired Swede.
It's
No,
purple and blue.
purple-haired Swede. That's what I said. No, I need a psychologist. But they're expensive, and I'm on
Okay.
minimum wage.
Very
Like a
good.
midget who can't afford to feed her children. I'm on minimum wage.
Yes,
I think I've already done that joke.
you have, because I remember it.
Neurotic much? Okay, all right.
Okay.
Therapize me. Give it to me.
So, overwhelm. That's where we were before all of this. Somehow you think that overwhelm, just because it's a really, really strong emotion, is a lot worse than some other emotions that you have to deal with.
It's not an emotion.
Overwhelm is an emotion.
It's a degree of any particular emotion. An overwhelming amount of shame, an overwhelming amount of embarrassment, an
Okay, yeah.
overwhelming sensation of ennui. Okay, it's not an emotion. It's a degree. It's
Yeah,
the
but
superlative degree. It's
whatever emotion you're talking about, when you say it's an overwhelming degree of whatever emotion you're talking about, that's still an emotion. It's just stronger than maybe you're used to.
I know it's funny. I never have overwhelming joy. It's always fucking overwhelming shame, overwhelming embarrassment, overwhelming humiliation, overwhelming envy.
Okay, overwhelming embarrassment.
Yes,
How do we deal with that?
uh, by putting my clothes back on in public.
Good.
How do we deal with that? That's a tough one because that cannot happen in a vacuum where I am the only person present in the environment. It has to happen in a, in relation to another person. And handling my emotions and feeling them, allowing myself to feel them in the presence of the person who is the catalyst, or is part, their presence or their response to me is part of the catalyst. That's really tough. That's really tough. I've had a lot of luck dealing with emotions that I feel in solitude. Like, for example, I'm in a new relationship. There can sometimes be moments where I want to text something which is confrontational and hostile when I'm responding securely to something that's said to me or done to me. being on my own, wherever I am, just on my own, without her there, gives me the space that I need to just sit with the emotions and breathe until they pass. And then I look at my phone and I go, whew, so glad I didn't send that text. So glad I didn't make a decision based on emotion. Like, I've step one has been to learn to not act on emotion when I am alone. But I haven't even begun the next step of feeling emotions while someone is fucking looking at me, and they have, and they're, you know, and there are all of these interpersonal social dynamics going on to do with anticipation, expectation, and so on.
So let's have a
So,
look at that. Give me an example of when this happens. Like, when was the last time this happened?
like being overwhelmed in the presence of someone.
Hmm.
Today,
Okay, what happened?
I felt an overwhelming sense of jealousy and possessiveness. Not, and it's not the context you that everyone is assuming. It's, I'm not the jealous, possessive boyfriend type. Um,
Tell me
you
what
know,
happened.
no, it's. I have I've made a new friend recently, or I say recently in the last year, and it's the newest and freshest friendship. And this person is fascinating, charismatic, educated, generous, wealthy, tasteful, a real Epicurean like me. And I've spent the last 6 months going out for coffee and food and dinner and cocktails with this person, talking about everything from epigenetics to cancer research to
Okay, but why did you feel
culture,
an
psychology.
overwhelming sense of jealousness and
Yeah, I'm getting
possessiveness?
to it.
Yeah, get to it.
I'm getting to it.
I don't need the backstory. I just need to know
It's not a
exactly what
fucking
happened.
backstory. It's not a backstory. It's the story. So this guy is like this guy represents the most exciting and stimulating friendship that I've had in many years, right? And the gap between us in terms of success and, like how much he's achieved is pretty tremendous. And he's quickly becoming a mentor of sorts. And he's trying one of his main aims in relation to me as my friend is he's trying to help me find my way artistically and professionally. Like, we talk a lot about what I should be doing with my brain. And he's helped me in ways that no one else has been able to. So I am extremely fond of this person, and I'm developing quite a strong, like, yeah, just a strong emotional bond. And yeah, today after I finished work, I went and had coffee, and then discovered that some guy who works at the coffee shop, who is, I suppose, to a certain degree, an acquaintance of my friend, he just turned to me and said, "Oh, I went out for a beer with your friend such and such the other day. He's a really great guy. He's really knowledgeable, really, And all of a sudden, I was struck by the fact that instead of feeling glad or uh, instead of feeling happy for this guy at the coffee shop to have enjoyed the privilege of socializing with this with this special character, I found myself being possessive and envious, like almost like no, he's my friend, not yours, sort of schoolyard level of infantile emotion. And perhaps even worse than that, perhaps even the feeling that of disappointment that I didn't feel as special anymore. You know, like I met him at the coffee shop. He's sort of the possessiveness, which is a delusion, of course. It's a delusion. It's an insecure delusion. Like almost like a sense of ownership, which is not really a feeling I want to feel. It's ugly. It was almost like you, the fuck are you going out for a drink with such and such? You know, like he's my friend, not yours. Very petty, but I was overwhelmed. This guy just wanted to say like, oh yeah, I went out for a drink with your friend the other day. Great guy, blah blah blah. And I found that as soon as he said that, I couldn't look at him in the eye while he was talking. I had to look away so that he wouldn't see that I was hurt by that statement. And
When he said that, what were you thinking?
I was thinking typical stuff, which I think as a consequence of my abandonment complex issue, like, again, insubstantiated, insecure kind of
Yeah, but what were you
assumption, like
thinking? What were your thoughts?
he doesn't want to be friends with me anymore. He wants to be friends with that guy instead.
Okay.
Yeah. I was
And
also
then what
thinking
happened? What
like
did you do then?
I shut down and I just sort of like looked away from him when he was talking to me and just sort of stared into space and sort of just couldn't muster any words to respond to him and engage with him. Instead, I just sort of stared into silence. I suppose it's a very, very unfortunate comparison. I'm very glad I haven't used this person's name and the fact that he'll never watch this. But it's a bit like only the feeling, not the scenario. The scenario is incomparable, but the feeling is comparable, even though it shouldn't be. It is. It's like a girl has casual sex. Sorry, a girl has sex with a guy for whom she feels fond and intimate. It is never verbalized how much or how little the sex meant. So it can mean whatever she wants it to mean in her head until 6 months later, she's having coffee and a girl behind the bar says, oh, I went on a date with your friend the other day and he took me back to his place and fucked me. Whatever that girl feels in that moment, it's all to do with like, oh, I thought I was special. And I can see now that he puts it around. The scenario is not comparable. It's ridiculous. Okay. But the feeling was exactly the same. It was like, it was possessiveness, envy, insecurity, just petty, pathetic, insecure, fucking abandonment issues, textbook 101 fucking response. And everyone listening, I want you to know how fucking embarrassing it was to share this in this live stream. It was not easy. So if you could send a medal to this address down below, thank you. None of you have the fucking balls or the flaps to say what I just said. That was thoroughly fucking embarrassing, but it's true. It
Yeah, go on, Arad.
happened. It fucking happened today. I was jealous that this new friend who when we're together makes me feel like I'm so fucking special and important because he's such a magnanimous character. He's one of those people who just so charming in the traditional sense, and charming people possess a quality that the tiniest percentage of people in the world possess, and that is the ability to make it all about you when you are talking and not make it about them. And you can learn a lot about yourself and you can progress a lot as a person if you have someone like that in your life. And yeah, he's absolutely charming, and he's helped me with so many of my thoughts and my problems, and to just hear like, oh, I was hanging out with your friend the other day. It just like it was like I just wasn't prepared for it, and I hadn't been possessive up until that point at all. I hadn't had a single possessive thought, but just hearing that just made me feel like overwhelmingly fucking yeah,
Yeah,
overwhelming envy.
but you think that you said that it's such an ugly thought. So once you had it, which is actually not so strange, it's just that's also how our brains work. You started judging yourself for having that thought straight away.
Um, well, only in the sense that I knew whilst I was having the feelings that I was judging myself in the sense that my own fragility was being paraded in front of me, and it made me feel weak and small. And then that and then that's what led to the sort of abandonment thoughts. Like it's like if I feel this way just because my friend had a beer with an acquaintance and I found out, if I feel this way, then that means that I'm exactly the kind of weak and insecure person to fuck everything up and lose that person as a friend. That's why, that's what really compounded the suffering. Was I was like astounded and really ashamed of how pathetic and petty my jealousy was, and how overwhelmed by it I was, how deeply I felt it. So I hated myself for not being able to just go, oh yeah, you went out for a beer? Oh, how was it? Where did you go? Yeah, he's a
Yeah.
great guy, isn't he? Yeah.
So
Like
that is the
I was
problem. That's the problem. The problem isn't what he said. The problem isn't that you thought that he doesn't want to be friends with me and then you felt jealous and possessive. The problem is that you're judging yourself for having those thoughts and then feeling that way, and you think that you should not be doing that.
well, it's not, yeah, but only because it's not the type of person I want to be.
That's fine. But your brain went there, and that's okay. The
I
next
think
time someone does that, you have practiced this scenario.
my
You can
brain
be
went
prepared.
there. My brain went there because my brain is accustomed to trying to leverage any difficult or challenging phenomenon in my life that it can utilize to bring the worst out of me, and bring to the surface all of this stuff to do with abandonment.
Yeah.
It's all about abandonment. It's the classic textbook thing of like thinking that people are going to abandon you, and then manifesting insecure behaviors that drive them away so that you have the self-fulfilling prophecy at the end.
Yeah,
And
excellent.
yeah, but I just,
Then you can do that. You can tell yourself that you were right. You don't have to wait for them to do it. You just make sure that it happens. And you always knew that it was going to happen anyway. So it doesn't hurt as much as if it would happen if you thought it wouldn't happen. It's just self-defense.
it's just, oh yeah, I get it. I just,
But you caught it. You know that you don't want to do it. And you can change that. But I think first you need
it
to
didn't,
recognize that in almost every scenario, it will always come back to you judging yourself in some way, talking down to yourself or beating yourself up. Can we accept that your brain is just a human brain and it does these things for a reason?
yes, I can accept that my brain is human.
And it
Sorry,
has a
I didn't mean to be
reason.
facetious. I'm sorry. Sorry. You want me to join humanity?
And that would be nice.
No. No.
Like, no one is perfect. And I'm not saying that you are even thinking that you want to be perfect or that you should be perfect. But having a human brain means that you're not going to be perfect, because human brains are, when we're not in control, when we just let the ancient brain take over, all it's going to do is do things that it thinks that you need to survive. So that might be, in this case, a defense mechanism, maybe. Eat whatever feels good, do things that feels good, things that protect you, not expend any extra energy on anything. We want to be lazy, because why would we go and do stuff that we don't want to do and just use energy on things that don't matter? This is what that part of the brain is doing. So that is the part of the brain that always responds in the moment. You're always going to have that happening. I still react to things at times. Maybe not as much as I used to do, and maybe not as strongly as I used to do. But certain situations, I don't act like the person I want to be. But then I can go back and self-coach, because I can catch myself. I'm like, okay, why did this happen? And just have a little bit of compassion for yourself and for where that is coming from. Like, it's trying, that part of your brain is trying to be your friend and protect you. It's just that you don't want it to do it in the way that it's doing it. But it can't really conceive of that. It doesn't have that brain capacity. It only is very, very specialized to save your life, basically.
I'm exhausted.
We're almost done.
Fucking hell.
And you didn't act it out. I mean, you could have been like really childish and like, what are you doing with my friend? Might have been a bit strange. But I mean, some people do act things out. So you kind of
So
caught
I'm not a
yourself, but you go into this self-judgment
yeah.
rather than, okay, hang on, what's happening?
No, you're right. You're
Just be
right. I
curious.
should pat myself on the back for not being a complete fucktard.
Yeah, you're not. You really aren't. It's just like, okay, those feelings were a bit overwhelming in that moment. And that's fine. What I don't want you to do is just sweep all of this under the carpet and forget about it, because then you're not going to learn anything from it. You'll be like, okay, what actually happened here? And when you can talk your brain into you understanding why this is happening, and you can understand that it's kind of normal, and I bet the people who are watching this, some of them have done similar things or had similar thoughts. It's not just you.
That's right. We're all pathetic, wretched, miserable urchins.
Something like that. So just like be curious about it instead of being angry about it. Rather than like, this shouldn't be happening. It's like, okay, why did this happen?
Pim, I need you
To shut up.
Pimini Cricket, I need you on my shoulder at all times. I need you to just walk me through every moment of every day, and I'll have a healthy existence. Can I? How much is it to hire you per hour as an existential appendage?
Let's talk about that behind the scenes. You want a little speaker here and permanent access to my voice? No, so
Yeah,
I wanted to keep
can we
doing.
like in Black Mirror, can we take the contents of your brain and put it into a digital assistant for me?
I would really like to keep my contents. I kind of need it.
All right. I'm
Is that
sorry.
all right?
I always asked for too much. I'm always pushing, I'm always pushing my luck.
Yes. Okay, I want to talk about your homework for this week. I just want you to keep doing what you're doing. Like, you already said that you have stopped the gambling now. Keep just experience all the emotions, all the urges. Did you stay on track with your diet this week, or did you have any planned carb eatings?
On track.
Okay. Same thing as I said last week.
And I did something new as well. Well, I've been thinking, like, sorry to bring Bart and nutrition into this, but like, I've been thinking recently, maybe it would be better to use rice rather than milk, because with rice I get starch and fiber. And I was thinking, in terms of the protocol of like starving gradually the gut microbiome with milk, maybe it would be better to starve it with fiber and starch. So I was thinking about just having rice instead. So I didn't drink any milk today or yesterday, and I've just been having rice with meat. So I think I'm like fairly close to just beginning the protocol, like beginning the 6 weeks journey into fat only.
Yeah, but if you are having any other carbs or whatever that wasn't planned for, or that is planned for, like, okay, I'm gonna have this or whatever, use that worksheet again, like we talked about. I think I mentioned it last week. Like, if that is happening, I really wanted to use that to recondition your brain and feel the urges, and that's it.
Yes, okay. Professor Pim.
Excellent. So, a few comments. Miss Pagan, I didn't do anything to my hair. It just got too long and I got some pins. But thank you. And Patricia says something. Your friends cannot do what a competent therapist can do. Don't fool yourself. Keep that in mind. Patricia also says, you're brave. Okay, Pim, I can't let that go. It may be time to share my story. Let me know, Patricia, what you want to do. We can make it happen. So that's it. I'm not going to go into any others because that's going to be a long discussion. So thank you very much for watching today. We will see you again next week. Bye.